There's been a dark mystery going on inside Brookhaven Rp for over a year now. At first glance, Brookhaven Rp just seems like another light-hearted Roblox game, but it goes so much deeper than that. This is the unsolved mystery of Mr. Brookhaven. So who is this Mr. Brookhaven? Well, from the little we do know about him, we know that he's the founder of Brookhaven and assumedly the ex-mayor as well. By executing a very specific set of tasks, you can find this code in the old shack. Once typed in the cinema camera, a very strange tape begins to play. From the tape, we can see that Mr. Brookhaven did not begin life as a rich man. He seems to have come from humble origins with just a campfire and his trusty steed to his side. At first, he came in search of gold, but he ended up finding a lot more. This glowing pyramid is still a mystery to all Brookhaven Rp players. We still don't know their true effects on the human body, and neither did Mr. Brookhaven. He decides to stay on the side of caution and buries up this unknown object. Although we can clearly see that the short little bit of exposure that he did have to the pyramid affected him in an unknown way. For now, all we know is that the energy is radiating around him. Knowing these lands hold a lot of potential, he begins the foundations of the town of Brookhaven. We can see this woman calling him Mr. Brookhaven, and many people believe that this is actually Mr. Brookhaven's wife, Madison, and that's why he named Lake Madison after her. Fortunately enough for us, this is not the only strange tape that's been found in Brookhaven. I first saw a YouTuber by the name of 01G cover this new tape, which is hidden in a non-collidable part of this mountain. Once the code is entered, we can see the town of Brookhaven being built. It's hard to tell due to the blurriness of the image, but you can clearly see that this is a different Brookhaven than the one we have now. I've seen theories floating around that with every new update comes a shift in the Brookhaven Rp timeline, but we'll get into that time travel stuff in a bit. For now, let's focus on what this new tape reveals. We get to see some images of Brookhaven being built. This one looks oddly like a train track. Logistically, it makes sense as well to make Brookhaven a railway city, as it's much more accessible for people looking to live there. Clearly now there's no train tracks, which could hint to this being a different timeline. We can see that Mr. Brookhaven is no longer the poor miner he once was. He's now driving in luxurious cars, especially for the time, considering all of this would have taken place at least 20 years ago. We can see that he checks the top of the church, which means that clearly something is going on there. Once you check the church, you find smaller pieces of the pyramid lying in there. We can now confirm that this is a source of power, as we can see it being used as a wire connecting to the bell in the church, which also explains the supernatural things that happen when you ring the bell. In the next images, we get to see the house that Mr. Brookhaven was living in. If you were to check the attic, you would find two small pieces of energy crystals. We already know that weird things are going on in the church, but something that's in hot debate in the community is this picture of a deceased man hiding in the coffin. Some people are convinced that this man is Mr. Brookhaven, although some people believe that this is actually someone else entirely, as the hairs of the two men don't entirely match up. Some people think that this is actually the FBI agent from the movie First Contact. While they do look similar, I'm not convinced this is the case. Whoever this man was most likely lived in the shack behind him in the picture, which means that he was also most likely the owner of the tape which shows Mr. Brookhaven digging up the pyramid. What this means is that this man was either Mr. Brookhaven or someone extremely close to him. At the moment, it'd make a lot more sense if it was Mr. Brookhaven, as we know for a fact that he wanted this situation to be secret. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reburied the pyramid. Perhaps he just documented the situation in case that anything should happen to him. There is unfortunately one flaw in this theory, which is the fact that they used an old picture of Mr. Brookhaven instead of a newer one while he was mayor. Also, in this picture, the man is wearing a hoodie, which is quite strange and may indicate time travel. I think this picture is meant to be a red herring and a ploy constructed by the FBI to cover up the situation behind Mr. Brookhaven's real death. We're meant to believe that Mr. Brookhaven is dead, but there is a good chance that he's still alive. Remember, when you're dealing with unknown powers, anything can happen. Mr. Brookhaven apparently actually has a Roblox account. Now, I'm not sure how reliable this actually is, but for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna treat it as if it were real evidence. The account takes on the appearance of the FBI agent from the movie First Contact, but he's faceless. And the saying goes that if he sees your face, he will steal it from you. To counteract this, players have begun wearing glasses so that Mr. Brookhaven can't see their face. The effectiveness of this method has not yet been proven, but we'll just have to assume it works. The account actually has multiple games on it. One game is just the default Roblox game, with nothing changed at all. This one, titled Cursed Ones, is a lot more interesting. When you join the game, you're greeted by hundreds of inanimate players who are all positioned face down. As of recording, both these games have been taken down, but there was another game that was specifically made for Pope, which is why I'm not sure if this is truly canon to the Brookhaven Rp lore, as why would Wolfpack make a game just for him? But anyway, this game is basically a darker version of the regular Brookhaven Rp. It's constantly nighttime, all the windows and doors are boarded up, and the first thing you read when you enter is "Welcome to your worst nightmare." Scary, right? If you go to the church, there's a secret underground bunker with a statue of the account's avatar. On the back of the statue it reads, "Now one step closer, now head to where it all began." We can assume that the church used to worship this being like a god. Perhaps the supernatural nature of the power makes people submit to its will. But this is all just speculation at this point, as we have no real evidence right now. I'm not entirely sure where it all began, but I do know if you go to the school, you can find a secret room with a rusted whiteboard that says, "Brookhaven is gonna be cursed on the 23rd of October. The entire game will black out." Behind that is a sign that says, "You better pray that the 23rd of October is just a warning and not the day of cursing." On the 23rd, as you can see from O1G's video on the day, the base game did not change, but the Pope game changed, and a tunnel was added, which led to a sign that says, "See you on the 30th of October, one day before Halloween." There's also this door, which just leads you to the Cursed One games. My theory right now is that the pyramids use the power of dead people, and perhaps the event that the FBI is trying to stop is actually the death of everyone in Brookhaven. All this time, everyone has been thinking that the FBI has been evil, but what if the FBI were actually the good guys? Now, this is all just speculation and theory. I have no evidence to back this up, but I really think that would be an interesting route for Wolfpack to go in. Of course, when this event was meant to be taking place, Roblox experienced the longest crash it's ever had. Was this Mr. Brookhaven's doing? I don't think so, but we'll have to find out. For now, this is just the unsolved mystery of Mr. Brookhaven.